Hey guys, it's Hunter. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Fish. This is the series where I normally answer questions you guys leave on Discord, so make sure to join if you got a question for a future episode. For this video though, we're going to talk about something that I've been getting a lot of messages about. Now, when I was out there, I'd somehow managed to miss them at the show, but Dean Guitars was at NAMM. And the new lineup is both exciting and has stoked quite a bit of controversy. You guys have been asking about it, there's quite a bit to talk about, so smack a like on the video if you're going to enjoy it. That actually massively helps indulge the almighty algorithm's desires more than you might realize. Pray for my editor because this is probably going to be a long one, and let's take a look at what is going on with Dean Guitars. Now, a little bit of initial background context to put all of this into perspective. Last couple of years, I think it'd be fair to say that Dean has been going through what Premier League fans would call their banter era. The Gibson and Dime Estate lawsuits meant that Dean couldn't use some of their most popular shapes, even ones they produced since 1977. Dimebag Daryl, Dave Mustaine, and Michelangelo Battio, some of their heaviest longtime hitters, all left the artist roster in quick succession, leaving the lineup looking kinda depleted. All that in the midst of additional lawsuits, succession-style drama, some of the most bizarre and outrageous new lineup introductions. It was anyone's guess what would happen next with Dean. Could they recover? Was the situation unsalvageable? For Dean's part, they're not shy about being vocal. Dave Mustaine left? Fine. The pointier V and Z shapes Dean designed for his signatures? Back with a vengeance, and zero fucks given, baby. That seems to be the new Dean Guitars motto, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. But not only did they bring the Mustaine shapes back without his name on them, they did so with stainless steel frets, lumen lays, Fishman Fluence, Evertune. These are now their most up-to-date and arguably most relevant models ever. So that's where we were going into the 2024 NAMM show. Now, there's unfortunately not a ton of coverage even on Dean's own socials from the show, so I'm just going off the limited publicly available information. First thing you notice, the talking points this year are mainly on the signature models, and they've been putting in work in rebuilding the artist line. Kerry King, the current jewel in the lineup, obviously has some of the craziest metal-ass metal things ever. Last year, they announced his second original Dean shape, a USA custom shop Overlord, essentially the shadow monster from Stranger Things with a Taylor tremolo slapped on it. Now it's got a production version, same battalion gray color, but just like with the production version of the Kerry King V, the Sustainiac unfortunately hasn't made the cut. Standard EMG 8185 set, which is almost becoming a rarity these days in an active world increasingly dominated by Fishman Fluence. It's also got a PA2 preamp booster for those signature Kerry King melodic leads. Just so you know, by the way, when I'm poking fun at pretty much anything, some people seem to take it seriously. I jest because I love. Slayer's a ton of fun, one of the best shows I've been to, just an absolute wall of fucking energy and sound. In related news, Slayer is coming out of retirement for a couple of shows. They're headlining Louder of Life with, get this, the also unretired Motley Crue. This is why I have trust issues. Band retirements are just an absolute meme at this point. Speaking of bands out of retirement, Greg Tribbett of the recently reformed Mudvayne has two new signature Vengeance guitars in black satin and in metallic red satin, hipshot hardtail bridges, ebony fingerboards, red pickup rings housing the EMG 8185 humbuckers. Can't say I'm a massive fan of all the Mudvayne branding, but especially the black satin version with all the red binding around the body, around the ebony fingerboard with stainless steel frets. It looks evil as fuck. Big Gary Holt vibes from these, and that's not a bad thing. Then this thing is absolutely ridiculous. Carl Sanders of Egyptian-themed tech death band Nile has an outrageous 7-string V. Massive V headstock with a big gold Dean Wings logo for extra pointiness on both ends. Big ol' 7-string gold Floyd Rose on there as well. This thing is just unapologetically metal as fuck to an extreme degree. Limited custom edition Seymour Duncan Carl Sanders Invaders. Love the gold inlays too, with the ancient Egyptian Ankh hieroglyph on the 12th fret. Ironic that it represents the word life when this fucking weapon of a guitar looks like it's more than capable of ending yours. Jonathan Done, I think that's how you pronounce that, formerly of Shadows Fall and now lead guitarist of Anthrax, has new signature Exiles in Black Burst and in Purple Burst, mahogany bodies with a 5-piece maple walnut bolt-on neck, maple fingerboard with spoke wheel truss rod adjustment, stainless steel frets, hipshot bridge and Spurzle lock and tuners, Fishman-fluenced moderns. I really like the purple burst especially. It's like an evil alternate universe hardtail Charvel. Wayne Lozanak of Hatebreed joined Dean last year. He's now got a couple of new signature thoroughbreds. These are production versions of the USA Custom Shop guitars he's been playing a lot, which are heavily influenced by the EMG loaded Les Pauls he's played for years. There's a hardtail in classic white, and the other is classic black with a Floyd. 8185 set, a metal classic, and man, there's a lot of EMG love in Dean's artist lineup. Timeless Les Paul custom vibes with chug-friendly mods, 24 frets and a 25.5-inch scale length as well. Very sick. Not gonna lie, these are hands down my favorite guitars in the new Dean lineup. Who saw that one coming? There's just an undeniable allure about modernized classics, you know? That blend of old school charm and character with modern functionality and conveniences. Love that. Take, for instance, my main guitars, 70s Les Pauls that we've restored and souped up on the channel. From the outside, they've got that classic Norland era look with all the mojo intact, but under the hood, they're modern metal beasts with jumbo stainless steel frets, locking tuners, and high-end metal pickups. Outside of guitars, one of my dream projects is restoring and modernizing a 72 Challenger. CarPlay, hydrogen conversion, push to start, Bose sound system, classic appeal, modern experience, I'm all about it. Whether it's super noticeable like the guitars on the channel, or even if it's something deceptively mundane, like the Ridge wallet that I use. Traditional black leather feel and vibe, but sleek, streamlined, modern. I used to be such a serial hoarder of receipts and loyalty cards, you know, all the stuff you hold on to because maybe, for some reason, you might actually need it one day, and never actually do. Doesn't happen with Ridge. In here is everything I need, and that's it. And simplifying the essentials of daily life is liberating. Now they come in these elegant leather styles too. Awesome. It's why I'll never go back to a traditional bulky wallet, and it's why Ridge is one of my favorite channel partners. It's actually their 11th anniversary, and they're always adding color options to fit any style or streamlining daily life in other areas, like with the key case that turns your giant jangly nightmare into a sleek Swiss Army knife for keys. And let me tell you, they make for amazing gifts, even for those hard to shop for friends. Shiv's old school dad was real skeptical of a modern wallet, got him the tobacco brown leather Ridge. He's never going back either. So if you want to experience for yourself why Ridge has won so many of us over, head on over to ridge.com/agafish, and right now you can get up to 30% off during their limited time anniversary event. Link is also in the description down below. If you've been eyeing Ridge, don't miss out. So thanks to Ridge for sponsoring the video, streamline your daily life, and using my link also helps support the channel by letting them know that I sent you. And then on the theme of upgraded classics, John Connolly of Sevendust, another fantastic live band, also has a new signature thoroughbred in Trans Blue Burst. It's a single cut, so on this channel that automatically grants it bonus points over his Trans Red V, but it's also received a solid spec upgrade over the previous signature. Still has an ebony fingerboard and Grover tuners, then they've added a Tone Pros bridge, a Graphtec nut instead of plastic, which I know it's not a sexy upgrade on paper, but for tuning stability, it's awesome. Glow-in-the-dark lumen lace side dots, and then they've upgraded the DMT design pickups to proper USA DMT Baker Act and nostalgia humbuckers. Set through neck like on the rest of the thoroughbreds in the Select series, which are Dean's high-spec imports, and I love how they're using the big caddy tailpiece on the Selects like they do on the USA thoroughbreds. Speaking of which, moving out of artist models, there are two new Select series models, a thoroughbred and an ML, both in Trans Brasilia. These have pretty much identical specs, mahogany bodies with flame maple tops and matching headstocks, zebra bobbin Seymour Duncan custom and Alnico 2 set, Graphtec nuts, Grover tuners, set through 3-piece mahogany necks with ebony fingerboards. It always surprises me that the ML has a 24 3/4 inch scale length because it looks like such a long guitar, but that's the same between the two as well. V profile neck on the ML, C-shaped neck on the thoroughbred. Babix bridges for this year's Select series. Those are solid, they're absolutely chonky, love to see it. Then lumen lays and stainless steel frets? Interesting. A lot of the website hasn't been updated yet, so I'm curious to see whether every Select model will get stainless steel frets and lumen lays as standard upgrades across the line, like retroactively upgrading all the existing Select models, or if it's just going to be for the new models. If I had to guess, it'll be like what LTD did when they changed all the Deluxe 1000 series guitars to stainless steel frets. Dean might have already swapped over to stainless steel for the entire Select series at the factory, but they've got a lot of previous year guitars at dealers with nickel frets. So on the spec sheets, only the new models have stainless steel frets. They wait for the older inventory to sell before announcing that they're standardizing the upgrades across the entire series. Stainless steel frets and lumen lays now on new and existing models when they've kind of been doing it the whole time. That's just a guess. But off the top of my head, I can only really think of Chapman that does stainless steel frets and lumen lays as standard features on their high-spec imports. Oh, never mind, Jackson does it with the Pro Plus series, but not even LTD does that. I don't know why. There's literally no downside to lumen lays, so they should. Either way, that'd be massive for the Dean Select series. Actually, Hunter and editing here, I don't know what happened, but I misread. The ML shows stainless steel frets, while the Thoroughbred does not. They're the same price though, pretty much identical specs, so fingers crossed that it's a typo on the Thoroughbred page and not the other way around. Also, I'm just going to mention that I'll have a link to the new for 2024 page on Dean's website that's kind of hidden for some reason if you want more details on the new models. Some of the new ones are starting to pop up sneakily on Reverb, so I'll have links to those if I can find them. Musician's Friend has Deans in stock. There's some pretty decent deals as well, so I'll have that affiliate link in the description if you decide to pick something up. Alright. Now onto the juicy stuff that's got a lot of people talking. The new Classic Series MLs have raised a few eyebrows. What was that guy's name again? Quarterbag? Pennybag? Never heard of him? Quote from Dean. Probably. So the new Not Dimebag ML79s come in not Dime Slime, but Slime and Trans Brasilia with Floyd's. Now, you might have missed it. Probably not, because there's no subtlety here whatsoever, but these may look kind of familiar. The ML79 Floyd Flametop in Trans Brasilia was actually an existing model in Dean's lineup. The 79 is the most affordable set neck ML, but for 2024, it's been upgraded with Seymour Duncans and modified to look maybe a little bit reminiscent of the Far Beyond Driven ML. And then the Flametop Slime, I think it's pretty obvious which ML this may or may not look a bit like. In fairness, Seymour Duncan JB59 is a solid upgrade over the previous import Dean designed DMT humbucker set. Just a shame they didn't upgrade the Floyd Special too. Then string through versions in Classic Black and in Black Blue Fade. Black Blue Fade is the funniest one though. If you've ever wanted to see how naked a Dean from Hell looks like without the Floyd or the Lightning Bolt graphics, there you go. Very. Seems like they're also taking those themes and applying them to other shapes. I'm gonna guess Caddy too, but here's the first look at Thoroughbred versions. I'm super down for these. The green slime one looks sick, I'm not gonna lie. And it wasn't at the show, but a Floyd version of the Dean from Heck has started showing up on Reverb as well. And I've seen some misconceptions online. Dean was obviously a huge fan of the Dean ML shape. As a kid, he dreamed of owning one, ended up getting two on the same day all the way back in 1981. One a gift from his dad, and the other a prize for a shred contest. He was 16. Dude was good. What could I say? So even though Dime and the ML shape have had a long, intertwined history together, the ML is an original Dean-owned shape and is theirs to do as they please. The Razorback and Stealth shapes, though, Dean no longer makes those because they're Dimebag design variations on the ML, owned by his estate. And part of the yet unproven allegations are that Dean tried to register unauthorized and fraudulent trademarks for the Razorback and Stealth names and designs. Basically, Razorback, Stealth, off limits, ML, perfectly fine. That's a Dean original shape. I can definitely see where the confusion comes from though. For as long as I've been a guitar player, the Dean ML, Dimebag, the two were basically synonymous. The news about that lawsuit was heartbreaking, man. It's also heartbreaking that over 587,293,087% of viewers have not subscribed. Here's a little reminder to do that if you haven't already. It's free, you stay updated on guitar stuff, helps out the channel. We're trying to hit 250,000 subscribers this year. That would be awesome. Ambitious, but I believe we can do it. Either way, given that the very public legal proceedings are still ongoing, and that the lawsuit literally states that the former Dean CEO was, quote, incredibly disrespectful and at oftentimes belligerent, end quote, in respect to Dimebag's legacy, this is such a bold move. And a little amusingly petty. It's like a reality TV show watching a couple go through a very messy divorce. At the very least, I'd imagine the crew behind Dime Guitars with a Z, the not-so-secret collaboration with original Dean founder Dean Zielinski, probably aren't as abused with the pure shithousery on display. This whole thing about what's going on with Dime-branded guitars going forward could honestly be its own separate video, but it seems Dean are really embodying the no fucks given mentality. Kind of continuing on that theme, the highest-end USA line is getting a Vengeance and a Zero in natural mahogany. Now, we talked about this at the beginning. The current outcome of Dean's public legal entanglements with Gibson is that the V and the Z shapes are off limits, at least for now. There's been another appeal, we'll see what happens. But the concept behind these USA models is really cool. The modern pointier Dean shapes combined with the traditional aesthetic of classic guitars from the 70s, similar to what the original V's and C's had. Mahogany bodies, three-piece mahogany necks, ebony fingerboards with mother of pearl inlays, mother of pearl side dot, dots, bone nuts, Grover locking tuners, Tone Pros hardware, USA DMT Baker Act and time capsule pickups. Love the gold Dean logo on the headstock. That's an actual raised piece of metal. In context of the no fucks given attitude, I wouldn't be surprised if they started off as acts of defiance, especially since the old Dean V's and Z's aren't really known for coming with pick guards. Extra shithousery points because they're using former Dave Mustaine shapes, who's now a Gibson artist. But the final USA Custom Shop results are a celebration of Dean guitars past and present. The extra pointy angles of a metal guitar combined with a classic rock vibe is just really fun, I'm not gonna lie. If I had to pick second favorites of the new line after Wayne Lozenek's Thoroughbreds, these would be it. Okay, so this is already much longer than I'd expected to talk about Dean guitars, so let's wrap this up. What are the takeaways? To me, a few things stand out. Firstly, I really like how they're handling the direction of the Select series. There's a nice balance of two distinct Dean flavors. You've got Dean's more classic hot rod specs with the Zebra Seymour Duncans, and then you've got the more modern metal guitars with Fish from Fluence, Evertune. What they're doing with the ML specifically is awesome. They've taken that distinctive Dean shape. You've got both classic hot rod and modern metal Chug Beast options. You could expand the caddy range in the same way. That's another very distinctive Dean shape. I'd imagine they're thinking about classic hot rod quilt top versions of the Vengeance and Zero shapes as well as replacements for the V and Z selects. Maybe classic series import takes on what they've done with the natural Mahogany USAs as well. But yeah, it's always cool when brands have both legacy, traditional, and super modern takes on their most distinctive shapes to satisfy fans old and new. My only experience with modern Deans was with a Select series guitar, a Caddy Select, and I've said many times on the channel, wacky shapes, not really my thing. Grandpa guitars all day. That being said, I was really pleasantly surprised by the Caddy. The body shape with that giant headstock, it definitely qualifies as wacky, and it looks like it would play like a modern metal guitar. I was definitely expecting something like Ibanez, a really thin D-shaped neck, super flat shredder style fingerboard. Nah, not at all. And I guess the half Les Paul, half Explorer body should have been an indicator, but it felt like a classic set neck guitar, tastefully modernized with jumbo frets and a satin neck. It looks absolutely wild. It's immediately polarizing, but it was a really well-built guitar, and if they're upgrading the Select series across the line with Babbitt's bridges, stainless steel frets, and lumen lays, that outspecs a lot of the industry gold standards in the same category. So those upgrades on the Dean Selects would make them super interesting, even if you're not normally into Dean guitars. Then Dean's wild ride over the last couple of years has been reflected in their lineups. They've been all over the place. There was one year where it was all about the new Exile Super Strat shape. They went super hard with fun 80s Charvel-esque super shredders for a bit. There were the absolutely batshit insane Exile and ML multi-scale guitars, 6, 7, and 8 strings, all loaded with Kahlers. Remember those? Fucking wild. Love how they were doing something literally no one else would even think of doing, but at the same time, how big realistically is the audience for an 8-string multi-scale MR with a Kahler priced at $2,000? That all happened in just the last few years, and if you look now, whether it's the result of legal entanglements or wacky experiments that just didn't quite pan out, being culled from the lineup, there's less bloat, everything looks more focused now, and I think they deserve some credit for that. Next thing, leaning into the no fucks given marketing angle is polarizing. Some people absolutely love the attitude. It rubs a lot of other people the wrong way as being a bit childish, big you're not breaking up with me, I'm breaking up with you energy, and it almost re-emphasizes a lot of the negative stuff they're in the news for. That being said, that philosophy and siege mentality has resulted in some really cool concepts. They modernized the fuck out of the former Mustaine shapes, maybe partially out of spite, and would they have done a traditional style Vengeance or Zero if they could still use the V or the Z? Maybe not. At the very least, things like Back with a Vengeance, Zero Fucks Given, the new Not Dime MLs, that gets people talking about Dean's new guitars, even if there was also basically zero NAMM coverage given from Dean as well. Okay, that was terrible, but seriously, their social media is a desert. No 2024 lineup hype posts? That's just bizarre. Overall though, in terms of just the guitars, the new artist models look sick, especially the Thoroughbreds, obviously. They're also pretty much the only brand that still has import production models with Kahler trems. Love to see that continued support. They could have easily continued trying to chase trends. Instead, they're modernizing guitars in ways that are relevant for modern players, while still maintaining a strong Dean identity. There were a couple of other guitars at the show that haven't popped up on the website yet, a classic series Silverburst 1980 Cadillac, USA USA Cadillac Custom with the 6-in-line headstock. Reese Scruggs of Havoc and touring guitarist from Machine Head just got a USA Morningstar prototype. Prototype for what? New production shape, new signature guitar? Point is, definitely compared to this time last year, it seems like the general vibe from Dean fans is a lot more hopeful. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I've talked more than enough. Here's where I'll throw it to you. What are your thoughts around Dean guitars, the new lineup, no fucks given? I'd love to know what you're thinking in the comments down below. Massive shout out to my amazing patrons. Their names are up on the screen right now. Consider joining them if you want to directly support what I do. There's also Sweetwater and Toman links you can bookmark for later, for strings, or for picks. Doesn't cost you anything extra. I get a little kickback that supports the channel. Really appreciate you if you decide to do that. All that really helps out. As always, thanks so much for watching. You've been awesome, and I will see you for the next video.